In this video, we're gonna be talking all about Devil's Lake perch. We just got back from an awesome trip. We had a few guys over there, caught a bunch of fish, and in this video, we're gonna share a bunch of tips that'll help you catch perch if you head over to North Dakota. And first things first, we're gonna talk about the importance of mobility for looking around and finding fish.
So when we first got to Devil's Lake, we stopped the bait shop to get some fatheads. And one of the things the bait shop owner kept reinforcing was that we can't get anywhere unless we have tracked vehicles. He must have said it 4 or 5 times, and now that we've been out on the lake, I think he's probably right. Luckily, we brought 3 wide track sleds. We got a Yamaha, a Skidoo, and a Bearcat behind us, an Arctic Cat. And I think, honestly, without wide track sleds, we would have really struggled to get around on Devil's Lake.
What is that? What does that 24 right there mean?
Well, that's a super wide track because I'm an oversized fella. So
I like how they like to even flex it right here.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a little bit hidden there, but if you know what to look for, it's there. But yeah, wide track sleds a lot of times can get you places where four-wheelers, even four-wheelers with chains and stuff, are gonna struggle. Sometimes the wide tracks are the only answer.
And yeah, and if you're, the places like Devil's Lake, Canada.
Well, anywhere that gets a lot of slush,
yeah.
You know, wheelers are great until they're not.
Now, as Donnie just stated, looking around, searching, finding the right spot is extremely critical when you're chasing perch out in Devil's Lake, because you can spin your wheels looking at the wrong type of stuff and trying to jig up the wrong fish. And in this next segment, I'm going to explain exactly what you need to be looking for when you're fishing on Devil's Lake, what you're supposed to be looking for on your electronics. So just for reference, like, we've been running around looking for fish, and what we did end up running into and just having to slide a little bit further down the break for is, I mean, we were finding like little pods of like 2 fish, 3 fish, 4 fish. And if you look right here, I got my cell phone, you can see that like this is like a Christmas tree of fish right here. And actually Charlie is over on the side over there. And then if you look over behind me, Donnie's got some behind there as well. And then Craig behind him has another kind of Christmas tree type thing. So when you're out on a place that has a really good perch fishery like Devil's Lake like this, if you're not seeing something that's like at least somewhat decent, like a decent number of fish, and you may need to look around and move around a lot to find them, you're probably not in an area where you're best utilizing your time. So that's just something to think about. Just make sure you're moving around until you do find those schools. And you know, you don't necessarily need this kind of technology to find these fish. If you just have traditional 2D sonar, you can find fish, but you know, it's not gonna look like this exactly, but you're gonna see a lot of red on your screen. So make sure you're seeing enough fish before you spend too much time in one spot. Now, as you can see, if you're in spots where you're only seeing onesie, twosies, small little packs of fish, that's just not gonna cut it on Devil's Lake. You gotta keep moving till you find those bigger schools. And as Jason Mitchell has been saying for a really long time, you gotta make big moves to find the fish, and then you can start making smaller moves to catch those fish and make those little micro adjustments to kind of dial in the bite. But once we were able to find a good school of fish, we got into a bunch of action, and as you'll see in these next few clips, we're catching them on just about everything.
Well, I tell you what, that's not a giant, but that's a pretty good Devil's Lake perch. We've been on a finicky bite today. This is about the 15th presentation I've tried. That's a 1/28th tungsten by Northland. It's I think it's one of the bro bugs. But I tell you what, we between the 4 of us fishing, we've tried a lot of different presentations today. The fish they're interested, but they're having a little trouble committing. So I just put a couple of spikes on that and dropped it down and never even got to the bottom. So maybe we're onto something here. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Whew. Ooh, that's a gooder one. Oh, you threw the spoon on. That's a chunky one.
Yeah.
Do you think that one will fit in the bucket?
He's gonna make good tacos. Jody's gonna be happy.
Ooh.
I think we got another one for tacos, Nick.
Well, we were talking about how finessey they are and how finicky, and you're just drilling them on a spoon.
Well, it can be, you know, it can be, but on the other hand, if you give them something that maybe they aren't expecting, you get that reaction bite. Pound the bottom a little bit, drop some silt, and kind of raise this thing out of there is what I've been doing. And it kind of looks like something hatching out of it, or, you know, coming out of the bottom. They just hammered it. Hammered it.
And if you look at it too, like this is a really small little
yeah, that's
spoon.
A 16th ounce, dress it up with some spikes, cover up all the hooks.
Super slender, no rattles.
Yeah, yep, nope, it's, I don't know, that's the second one that we got now, and I'm looking at a whole bunch of fish down there, so we're gonna
better get back down.
We're gonna get unhooked and get another one.
I'm gonna go fish.
Okay. There we go. No giant, but I tell you what, it'll eat. So it looks like right now we're catching fish on a variety of different baits. We did have to do a lot of searching around today and drilled a lot of holes. That one will eat. Let's keep fishing. Oh,
Finally got one to stay.
Yeah,
This one's actually no, I think this is a slightly better one.
It's a white bass. Come on, white bass.
Hoping for that white bass.
Are your cameras on? You want them on?
Hopefully,
There we go.
take that.
That's
a
too
good
bad.
Nicky boy!
How about that guy?
Huh?
I can't even get my hand around him, so that's where it
jumbo.
starts to get decent.
Yeah, the forage.
All right, so we're just hanging out here, thinking about moving, and
Having a discussion.
of course this guy goes on the minnow with the little jig on there. But this is the kind of guy you're looking for, right there. Charlie's got one too. Oh, this isn't bad. I think we did.
Better one.
I think we did get into him after the move.
I was fishing a tungsten down there and catching, you know, the smaller one, so I switched to the glass buckshot and kind of just let it sit still above the school, and this guy came up and grabbed her.
Well, shoot.
Fish tacos.
We're catching these fish anywhere from 35 to 40 feet of water, with 38 seeming to be kind of like that magical depth range. And specifically, like if you're looking at a lake map and looking at the structure, there's these big flats that go all throughout the lake, and where we were fishing was down on the bottom of the break where the basin starts. And you can catch these fish anywhere from the bottom of the breaks out into the basin. They could be all over, so you just gotta drill holes and look. But anytime you're fishing in water that's that deep, you have to consider barotrauma, because when you're hooking up with these perch down at the bottom, as you're reeling them up to the surface, they're not able to belch like lake trout can and release that air from their air bladder. So that's something to consider. And when you are fishing on top of a Christmas tree of fish like that, if you pull like a small little perch out of deep water, it's gonna end up dying. When you send it back down, it's probably gonna end up floating back up right underneath the ice. So one thing that you can do when you're fishing in deeper water to avoid catching some of those smaller fish is just upsizing your presentation a little bit. In the Dakotas specifically, you can use like the eyes of perch. So if you catch like a decent perch that you're gonna keep, pop the eye out, and usually those bigger fish can't, or excuse me, those smaller fish can't eat a perch eye like that. So that'll help you select for some of the bigger fish. But Charlie's gonna talk a little bit more on that topic right now. All right, Charlie just popped another
There's
decent
another
one.
guy. So earlier today we were fishing and we were just seeing schools of 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and those fish were a lot more finicky. You had to really entice them to bite and just pound in the mud and jig real slow. But here we stumbled upon a nice school of fish, and when you get a school of perch, they're gonna be a lot more aggressive and competing with the other fish in the school. So what I'm doing is just dropping my spoon down there above the school and kind of letting the bigger fish come up and compete with the other ones. And they're not really looking for a whole lot of action. Basically just put it above their heads and wait for one to eat it. The smaller ones will peck at it, but the bigger ones, they'll grab it.
That is interesting too. I've seen that same thing like up shallow, like you'll have those little fish that are just kind of peck, and then like the big ones roll in, because those big ones just kind of cruise around.
Yep.
Like mobsters, and they come in and crack it.
I mean, if you watch my rod tip there, that's just a little one there pecking at it. And when we're fishing this deep of water, those fish, if I catch that fish and it's probably too small to keep, it's gonna die. And so we're looking to catch the bigger size fish that we can flay up, put in a taco, have a little fish fry.
Now, if you're gonna head out to Devil's Lake and chase some perch, you might be able to get away with your walleye setup, but it's not ideal. You want something a little bit more specialized. And Donnie's gonna talk right now about his rod and line setup when he's chasing perch in deep water.
So today we're targeting these perch in 35 to 37 feet of water. And one thing you want to keep in mind is a real low stretch line, either fluorocarbon or braid. Both have very little to no stretch, and that is going to help with bite detection, especially in that deeper water. The other thing I have, I run a JT Outdoor Products 35-inch panhandler. With the spring bobber, it's integrated right into the rod, and the spring bobber can help you detect the lightest bite, up bite or down bite, and it's real helpful in deep water.
Well, that's about all we got for you in this one. Hopefully you're able to take a few tips from this video and catch a few more perch if you're heading out to the Dakotas. And if you enjoyed this video and you learned something, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down below, because we have a lot more awesome content coming in the future. And until then, we will see you in the next one.